YouTube! What the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back with another online battle replay in Total War Rome 2. Some of you all wanted me to bring a lot of elite troops. I'm not big into this. My opponent just did it here, and we'll see how it stacks up against my army of non-elite troops. I guess I have one elite unit. Well, I guess three, technically. Kind of depends on how you look at it. I have an elite cav unit here. Not super elite, but it's elite. And then I have elite slingers, which I have 3 Balearic slingers, a single archer. Grief, why do I always do that? And then I've got 4 citizen cav, 4 Thuria spears, 6 thorax hoplites. Pretty straightforward army for Athens. Basically just trying to make myself hard to punch through for anybody. And then having plenty of skirmishing power to back it up. If my opponent had brought chariots, I've got a lot of spears. I have 1 heavy shock cav and several Balearic slingers to take it down. That was the idea. If he brought elephants, I don't know how well slingers do versus elephants, but I was going to have to find out the hard way. But I did have 1 unit of archers. So, and I had Thurio spears as well, which are also quite good against elephants. So I tried to come prepared for hopefully any eventuality that the Seleucids bring. And I actually think one of the challenges for the Seleucids is infantry. Thorax swords are pretty much their go-to unit, which makes them somewhat predictable for infantry. It doesn't mean that's the only unit they have. They have access to shield bearers, they have access to royal peltasts, but those are expensive units, and using them properly is tricky at certain times because you invest so much money in them, whereas a lot of factions have infantry units that just seem to get more bang for their buck. I do believe the Seleucids have access to Thurio spears, though, which are a great unit. They're not going to kill a ton of stuff, but they're just versatile. That is one of my favorite things about the Thurio spears, is the versatility. They can throw javelins into a cav fight. They can actually fight in a cav fight. They can hold back most infantry for a fair amount of time. That's why I like them. Balearic slingers. I haven't used them a lot in this patch. They're good, as are Rhodian slingers. They're very good, actually, and they have very nice refire rates. Very deadly versus 125 range archers, also very deadly against lesser slingers, and they're going to put up a pretty stout fight against units like Cretan archers and Syrian heavies, though I do think that a Cretan archer would probably beat a Balearic slinger head-to-head. I don't know that, but the slingers do have a small shield, which helps, but the armor is better on the other units. So my opponent gets pushed back, his archers do, and I'm going to target his other unit. I go ahead and bring my infantry out onto open ground, just to offer my opponent an engagement where he doesn't have to run up a hill. That's kind of a nicety of me, because honestly I could probably force him back to wherever I want at this point, but I'd prefer to take the engagement on open ground. I'm feeling pretty confident from an infantry standpoint. Not that I can beat down all of his elites. I want to say that he has a royal peltast here and here, so 2 royal peltasts, 2 silver shield swordsmen, 2 of them here, and he's also got a shield bearer general. These guys are definitely very tough units. The silver shield swordsman, solid unit there, high melee defense, good armor. The bad thing about these types of units is that Roman units make these guys kind of pointless. If you're in a fight against Rome, I wouldn't use royal peltasts for these guys for the most part. I would focus on cataphracts and chariots and other stuff to get your kills, because these units here are just not real cost-effective versus Roman infantry. They can be very good against certain types of infantry, but against Roman infantry, which has very similar statistics for a much lesser price, it's going to be very hard to pull off, and that's one of the reasons why the Romes are pretty strong versus almost any faction. They do have ways to be taken down, but Rome's infantry is so cheap that it allows people to buy lots of cavalry with Rome, and even though their cavalry is not very good, they can usually afford quite a bit of it. Or they can support it with extremely good spearmen, like Triarii. So Rome is definitely a powerful faction in this patch, and it seems like at first a lot of people were ragging on Rome, like, yeah, they ruined Rome, no, they're not, they're quite good. I don't think they're OP or anything like that, but they are strong, and they can be tricky to beat if the person who's playing is Rome knows what type of build to bring and how to bring it. Now, there's weaknesses to Rome, too. Their swords don't have any type of shield wall functionality or anything else. You guys aren't missing anything in the greater battle. Basically, my opponent pushed up his pikeman and sits right in front of my hoplites. He hasn't clicked an attack, and he's going to bring his silver shield swordsman in. And I'm just going to put all my hoplites into phalanx briefly, just to get ready to fight out the long haul against his men. It would have been better had I been fully braced before that charge came. These guys actually have a pretty nice charge bonus. I'd never noticed that before. For a formation attack unit, they do. I'm going to start working my cavalry to this flank over here. My opponent didn't have any cav on this flank, so it's going to let me roam at will, and I'm going to bring the Hippeus Lancers this way too. Again, see, he's going to charge a Royal Peltist in these Thurio Spears. He'll win, but check it out. His Royal Peltists have already lost 6 men going into a Thurio Spear just because all the javelins, they're going to get tossed at him. So it's not an ideal fight for him. My cav coming around this flank here pulls my enemy's cav down. He's got an Ozit Knight and a Hellenic Cataphract, 2 very powerful cav units, but they're very few in number, and it's going to allow me to do stuff like this. My opponent is going to turn his pikes, though. They'll just be too late. But he will turn them, and he's going to come try and finish it, but my slingers actually just finished off his general for the shield bearer, so my opponent just lost his general. And any units that he has that aren't disciplined are going to start to suffer. And you can see here he's going to bring in his Ozit Knights to try and rectify this situation. Bringing in an Ozit Knight to finish off a citizen cav that's already pinned by a shield bearer is definitely overkill. So I think he's wasting this Ozit Knight unit right here, and it's just not in a very good position. My slingers then finished off this Levy pikeman pretty easily, and then I've got citizen cav starting to swing around this flank to threaten his Peltist. And his Peltist haven't done a whole lot, basically just kept my men in a line here. So I'm going to pin these Cataphracts and other units in, and my opponent's going to go ahead and pull through here. He's having a hard time doing it with his Cataphracts, but none of my units are really in a good position to bog his Cataphracts down real bad, so my opponent's really not going to take any losses here to pull away, because he kind of pulled right here where there was already a slight gap. So he's going to pull through and get to my skirmishers, but I'm going to go ahead and just target on my skirmishers and his Cataphracts, and I've got some work to do over here with my Hippeus Lancers. I want to bring in a rear charge of these shield bearers, but I see these Ozit Knights coming, and I'm like, I can't ignore them, so I'm going to turn around, and I do a last-second charge into his Ozit Knights. And I can't tell if I got any kills or not. Yeah, my Hippeus Lancers are doing well. This is the problem with Ozit Knights. Very expensive, very powerful unit. Best not to use them against shot cavalry. So then my opponent's Cataphracts back here getting shot up by my Balearic Slingers as they engage another one of my Balearic Slingers. So basically just, and then I'm going to bring this Thurio Spears after them as well. Yeah, this Royal Peltist over here managed to kill these Thurio Spears, but see how long it's been tied up? And same thing here, these Silver Shield Swordsmen, they're handily killing my Hoplites, but it takes them a long time to do so. Same thing here, handily killing my units, but they can't do it fast enough. And then same thing here. His guys just aren't getting enough done fast enough. He brings in some units to support against my Hippeus Lancers, who were handily beating his Ozit Knights. I can now pull out of this engagement and encircle my opponent with, so of course I say pull out, yeah, pulled out backwards, and I encircle my opponent's remaining troops and destroy them. And then he brings his Royal Peltist into another one of my Thurio Spears, and you can see his Cataphracts now actually getting down pretty low, and having failed to kill all my skirmishers still. So my skirmishers have had pretty much free reign, and it's at this point where I can start driving home hammer and anvil strikes on his remaining elite infantry. So again, elite infantry, the only one that didn't survive to late game was the Royal Peltist. Elite infantry's good, it's powerful, but it has to be supported, and if it's not, it can get picked apart by skirmish fire, cycle charges, surrounding, all that kind of stuff. So see, like right here, I'm going to pin the shield bearers with a citizen cav, which is just setting up another cycle charge for my Hippeus Lancers. So, and Hippeus Lancers are deadly versus sword units on the charge, as are most heavy shot cavalry. And in fact, these guys are in really bad shape. Here comes the charge. And you can see that it immediately does some pretty bad damage. These men should start to drop now. There they go. So yeah, elite units are great. This is why I don't bring too many of them. If I bring them, I'll usually bring one of them. Because you have to be able to support them. If you can't support them, they're going to get killed by conventional means, most likely. Are they worth it? Well, that's a question you have to ask yourself. Think about the different elite units available to you. Like, so, in this case, let's think about these Silver Shield Swordsmen. What are they good at? They're going to be good at killing spearmen. They're going to be good at killing very cheap swordsmen. If you think about where you don't want them, you don't want to put them in against cost-effective infantry, because that just means you're going to make your guys less cost-effective. So Thorax Hoplites are a good example of a cost-effective infantry. His swords were killing my men, but from a cost standpoint, I'm buying myself time. And time is going to work against you when you get into late game and you no longer have any cavalry or skirmishers. So again, just think about it from a cost-effective standpoint. So like his Cataphracts. This unit here got a lot of kills. Mostly skirmisher kills, so hard to say if it paid off, but probably close at least. This elite unit got him some kills. These ones, the kills that they got, were they worth it? It's hard to say. A lot of them were against hoplites. These ones were mostly against Thurio spears, so even if this unit tanked out 2 Thurio spears, it still hasn't paid for itself. So that's one of those things, like this light pelt, or this royal peltist here would actually need to kill 3 Thurio spears before it was really cost effective. And could it do that? Yeah, probably so. But think about a realistic situation. It's not likely you're going to get a chance to just cut through 3 spear units, because they're probably going to turn around and start throwing javelins at you. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed this. I'll give you some more advice on elite units as I get a chance, but you all asked for this, so hopefully it gives you a little insight. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.